Hey everybody, I'm Holly, aka the ScientoloGeek, and today I've got another interview, this time with Mr. Chad Wescoat, a former member, and today he's going to tell us about his story and what things he's been doing inside and outside the church. So I'd say let's just start from the beginning. What got you interested?
Boy, I went to a seminar called Management Success. It's a WISE group, which is it's a like an
Oh,
offshoot of,
you got stuck through that.
yep. And the stuff they taught me, I was like, wow, this really makes sense. Like the statistics and how you could raise your statistics, make more money. Really was the catchphrase for me. It was like I had an automotive shop, and they promised more money. If you did what they said, you could make more money. And I was like, all right. So I got into that, took their courses, and ended up spending a ton of money. Spent about 50 grand with those guys, I think, close to it. And then went to California, did all their courses, and then got introduced to the e-meter in one of our meetings. They had another life improvement center, was what it was called. And they showed me an e-meter, and I'm an electronics kind of guy, and I went, wow, that's really cool. So what we got to do is looking for answers, and thought they had it. Bought some books, read everything I get my hands on, then went in and went down to Detroit, was my closest org. Signed up, met some, I think, good-hearted people, but however misled the teachings was, they were good people, I believe.
Yeah.
Really were. So wanted to help. And so I was like, wow, neat. And then ended up joining staff down there. And my business didn't do real well with me not being next to it. So I went back. I quit staff there, still stayed, didn't get in trouble for it, and then I went back, fixed my business, and then I'm going to Cincinnati at some point. They transferred I had bought some auditing in Detroit, and then transferred that to Cincinnati. And they called me, and I had a couple sessions, sec checks, which is, their confessionals.
Yeah.
And I actually felt like I got something out of it. I got some stuff off my chest, and whatever it did, I felt like, okay. And then I ended up joining staff there, and I got put in a training course, technical training course, which is you're kind of protected. You get to just go to course and learn for your post. Trained to be an auditor, and then eventually a cramming officer, which is the guy who corrects anything that goes wrong in the org.
That's the Qualifications Division, right?
Yeah, qualifications, yeah. And so you're just in there trying to put, because Scientology is it was pretty clever. It was a dirty trick, but I mean, he was pretty clever about how he wrote it, because anything that goes wrong is your fault.
Yep.
Nothing to do with what's written, because what's written, if you do that, you're going to get a result. And well, we were doing that. We weren't getting any results. And so then being qualifications department, that's where all the pressure comes. So what are you missing in these people? Because it's already perfect. And then the other clever thing that he wrote is, if you're not getting results, you're out ethics, and you have secrets and withholds and all that stuff that goes along with it. He basically blamed, anything that went wrong was withholds or misunderstood words, or there's always a reason why his stuff didn't work. And I thought, well, so then you're like, well, it's my fault, and what am I doing wrong? Ethics in, and so you're always looking. Anyways, it's a clever way he wrote it. So, just keep going on the. I guess, I ended up being cramming, fully headed cramming, which is like, man, it seems like there's around 27 or 28, 30 courses that you have to complete to be
Jesus.
fully at it. And I mean, we're talking like class 4 auditor is one of them.
Did you have to do any CS courses?
Nope, no CS courses. Nope, they were not. That wasn't part of it. But all the way out, professional product debug, and I mean, I cranked through a lot of courses, and I think it took me about, I don't know, overall, the auditor training took me about a year, solid full time, and then probably by the next six, 8 months, I had the rest of my prerequisite course, plus I'm being on post. So it went pretty quickly, I guess. That's, what people said. And part of it was making auditors. That was part of my job, was getting through their internship. I got 13 auditors through internships that I think that's how many there was. So, I was pretty upstat. I mean, I did well. And then the meeting started. Then her name is Jeannie Sonnenfeld. She's an evil bitch, and that's it. She can try and sue me, but it's true. Everything I'm going to tell you is true. So she can say slander or whatever, but she's a nasty person. It's like evil, nasty inside. And the meeting started. Pounding on the table and screaming at you, and just I was like, man, a couple of times I was like, okay, maybe I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? Okay, it's all my fault. Tech's perfect. It's got to be me. If it's not working, and then you come into every day. You come into more people on staff than you have people in the building, and it's like it was frustrating. I'm like, why don't people get this? And you're like, it's just the bad PR, and it's, people are saying this or they say that. They're just afraid of. They don't really know, and that's kind of what I thought at the time. But no, the place was really just empty. I mean, and we were a busier than normal organization. Cincinnati really was better off than a lot of other Class 5 organizations as far as like money and what we made income and statistics and stuff like that. But man, we were always just 2 or 3 people on course. We were auditing some public, but it was really just an empty place. And yeah, and I just never got that. I was like, hi, we have the press, we're saving the planet, all that stupid stuff they found in your head. We're the last chance in the endless trillions of years we've been around this planet. It's like,
we're gonna clear everybody.
Yeah, and then Scientology will be the governmental organization. Oh man, this was so weird. I mean, you're laughing because it's like, it does sound funny now that.
Well, I've just started looking into Hubbard's data series. I've started putting up reading videos of it on my YouTube channel, and just imagining how that would be incorporated into a governmental organization. It would just fall apart.
Oh yeah, it's nuts. It's absolutely, yeah. But when you're in it, it's like, well, all this works, so now this has to work too. And really, where the working part stops is after the basics. There's a thing at the bottom of the bridge called the basics, and it has to do with like communication, statistics, ups and downs in life. I'm not going to go say too much about his suppressive person, reasoning, whether that really works or not. But but there is some basics that really just common sense. I don't think he thought them up. I think he went, oh, this would be a good way to get people interested.
So we're talking like the way to happiness type thing?
Nah, you know what? That's something. Yeah, I guess, but I'm going to be more specific. Is there's a select few basics that really work, and obviously, way to happiness. If you're not promiscuous and you have a committed partner, I mean, you're going to be happier than the person who's doing, out ethics. I mean, those kind of things. I mean, yes, that you see, like you can take certain parts of it, but is this principle, these 21 ways of life, going to make you happy? I said, it's not true. It's just not true. You can do them all, and you're going to be less uncomfortable on the planet, but are you really going to be happy because, you've done these things and you're excited to have this rundown? I mean, I've done all that, like, I was like, oh yeah, and anyways, it's funny because that reminded me of something. You have to attest to things when you're done. And, I want to acknowledge Doug Kramer. I mean, to be jumping around, but he taught me, I learned some things from him. He's a YouTube guy that does the same kind of thing as you. And he kind of explains Scientology and he teaches you it's not hypnotism. And you end up being in a hypnotist, it's basically hypnotized. When you're in a session, I believe that you are somewhat hypnotized because once you get used to session, you're just like, oh, you go right into it. And it was like a hypnotic trance. And then the suggestions and you come out of the session and you go up to the examiner and they say, you get your exam, you're all happy in your trance. And then they ask you if you'd like to write a success story. And then you write this, oh, wow, I just realized that blah, 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 and my life's now going to be all different.
Yeah, your cognitions.
Cognitions, right, realizations of life. And so then it just further enhances what you think happened, because you can be hypnotized into your shit. I've seen people, they don't realize it. But I believe that's a lot of what the auditing does, is put you in a hypnotic state, gives you suggestions, and then you think you have this huge win, and it's really it's not.
It's a high. That's what
it's a high, and it never lasts. It's hot here, but it never ever lasts. I could see, I'm like, my totally best blow up session I ever had was, I had a student doing false purpose rundown, and they went and they did a session on me, and I went, into my state and came out. I was blown away, and it lasted like 3 days. That was the longest a session ever lasted. And I was like, oh, I'm cured, and I'm this and that.
I was going to say, I usually associate false purpose rundown with stuff like the RPF.
Yeah, I guess that's what they do. I've never been in RPF, or only from what I've read, that's pretty much a 2.5 hour a day thing that you do, is you co-audit someone else on that. And it's quite a hypnotic, rundown or whatever. It puts you in quite a state, makes you think that, you've handled your whole track, and it's bizarre. So, and I know I'm rambling. I don't know.
It's okay.
Okay, good. So yeah, it's basically just hypnosis. One of the things that Hubbard teaches you right away is how hypnosis is so bad, and that you don't want to. He talks about it, so you're like, oh, it would never be part of his auditing, it's hypnosis, But then now that I'm out and looking, he was like a lot into hypnosis, go to parties and hypnotize people, and people talk about him playing tricks on people and with hypnosis, and it's like, oh, well, it makes sense, and it's only my opinion, but it makes sense to me that that's what happens, and it never was permanent. There was no permanent gains from auditing. There was never permanent gains from anything I learned in Scientology. So it's only just a programming thing, like where you spit out, like we probably read Keeping Scientology Working. I probably read that 1,000 times. We said chant it in mustard. It was just the most ridiculous thing. But and that's part of it too. This meeting that I had with you, I was like, what am I worried about? And her name's Karen De La Carriere. She's a former class 12 auditor, and she's an incredible person. course, and she has helped me immensely also. I mean, because of, the things that she showed me about, in her videos and stuff where Hubbard did this, Hubbard did that. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But where's I going with this? She's helped me a lot. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I lost it.
It's all good.
Anyways, oh, why was I worried about doing this? And she posted something 2 days ago, and it was like, why people don't want to talk about they were in Scientology. And the main thing that she's come up with, like 7 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 people that been in Scientology are embarrassed. Like, and that's really it, is like, now that I'm out and now that I have a clear picture of what happened to me, it's like, it's embarrassing actually. I fell right into it, and I can see myself back in that time talking to my friends, man, this is the answer, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, I really was that guy, but yeah, it's just embarrassment, a little bit. And not that I regret having went through it, but you're like, wow, am I really that dumb to be? But I don't think that's part of the equation. But because we talk about, you and I have been talking back before this, we're worried about, the whole, where they do fair game house and stuff. Yeah, but they got bigger fish to fry than me. And I really don't care. They can come look at me all they want. They got nothing better to do. But it's really the whole, be embarrassed about having been in it and having bought in so deeply to something that was such a dirty trick. And that's like, I believe that Hubbard was just an evil psychopath that said, I'm gonna, life's been unfair to me. I'm gonna fuck life. I'm gonna fuck all these. Sorry, I'm gonna screw all these people. And this is my dirty trick to society. And this is what I'm gonna do. And I just think, for no better reason than he was just a psychopath. And he went at it. And it's a pretty well laid out trick, but he was a writer, so why not? Let's make some science fiction. And that's what he did, and got people to buy into it. And I gave, I think, 7 years of my life to staff, and there was more of it to. It was quite 7 years, but anyways, it was a long time. But anyways, back to Jeannie Sonnenfeld, the evil ruler of Cincinnati. It was just, you would go into these meetings and you just never knew if you were going to leave with any dignity at all, because she would just scream. And I mean, I felt like I didn't know if I was going to get injured physically in them, because if you didn't there was 7, 8, 10 executive council in there, and in our meetings, you never knew what was going to happen, if she was going to. I was basically terrified of the woman. I didn't know. And she's an old Sea Org member, and she's actually on some videos with, she's David Miscavige's little buddy. And they're in, I forget where I seen them, but it was on, I think, one of Leah's shows where they showed David Miscavige up there. And then I saw Jeannie next to him. She was all this, I'm like, her personal, really super nicest person you ever met in the world. Unless you crossed her, unless you did something wrong, and then it was just disaster. And I got to a point, I'm like, man, this meeting sucked. I can't continue to do this. I'm doing my best. And it's one thing when you're doing a shitty job and then somebody busts you on it, and you're like, oh yeah, okay. But when you're doing the best you can do, and then not good enough, you give up. You're like, okay, well, I can't do any better, so this is just going to be my life.
And that's what the whole statistics system kind of tries to get you to do, is to get you to do better than you have previously in the previous week.
Yeah.
So it's like it wants impossible constant growth that it can't have.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. And you're like, and you're trying to yeah, you're trying to think of a way to. Well, that's the thing. You stop really thinking when you get in there because you're only allowed to recite or spit back what you've been trained by the master himself.
Otherwise, it's off policy.
It's off policy. You're a squirrel. It's like, wow. So I became her target of, I was the one failing the org because I couldn't put, the correction in. But, and I said, okay. And I made a decision one day, I said, one more time and I'm out. I just can't do it anymore. I'm out of here. But it happened one more time. And I kind of deserved it. So get back to work. I'll try harder. And then the next one came about 3 or 4 days later. It didn't take too long because they were regular. And I'm living in just a complete stress-filled 24-hour day. I mean, I'd get home and I'd try and relax, but all I could think about was how I'm going to get my stats up. And there's nothing. I'm trying to raise a family. I have 2 small kids, and
Did you supplement your income?
Yeah, I did. I sold my shop. That I had a shop, sold it, and I got payments for like 5 years. Plus, I paid all my bills off, and I had 5 years of income that I should have invested in something else. But anyhow, I had a payment each month that paid my rent and got us some food. And when you're that poor, you get help from the state. Anyways, it's just the whole life of Scientologists. You get help anywhere you can, so you can afford to do your part to save the planet. Yeah. And it's all justified. Anyways, it just came to that day, and I had done something that she didn't like, and she just pulled me in, and that was the final straw. And I didn't say nothing to her. I just, okay. I'm like, this is it. I'm out of here. I'm walking out the door after this. And I left after my bitch out, went home, told my wife, I said, pack up, pack the kids, we're leaving. We're out of here. Where are we going? We're going home. She was so excited. She was so happy. And then next thing you know, there's the org exec secretary and the ethics officer at my door. You gotta come back. You're in lower conditions again. Like, that's how I live my life, is lower conditions, which never correct anything.
And like being told that you're not good enough is totally going to get you to come back.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it was more of a, at that point I was like, okay, I kind of don't want to get the SP declared, which is like going to be the worst thing that ever happens, because then you'll just be lost to eternity and, to go live on a rock somewhere, and, but anyways, I went back, grabbed a broom. I said, I remember thinking I had my tie on and shirt, and I'm upstairs, 4th floor, sweeping. I'm like, all right. So an hour later, they came and got me and said, all right, you can go home. It was like 1 a.m. at that point. I'm like, okay. Because I didn't care at that point. I was just like, I'm out.
How late were you working?
How late? What do you mean?
Like at the org?
I don't know. We'd do all nighter. I mean, they would work us 24 hours a day if they could get away with it. I mean, a lot of times I try to get out of there by like 11:30 midnight, try to get out. And then you were there at, I think we started, bus was 7:30. But I fortunately had got an apartment right across the street, so I was only like, maybe 150 yards from the org. And that made it nice, because that took drive time out of my situation. And so it was easier. So yeah, we were 24 hours a day at times. They'd like, no one's going home tonight. We're writing letters. Stats are down. We're declaring an emergency condition, which meant like you had no family time. You had no, anything you did was just lower condition. You got lower conditions. And I'm sure you've read about that. It's a lower conditions just suck, and they're made to be unpleasant.
Yeah,
And,
can't get any days off unless your stats are up.
Right. But even when your stats are up, you can still get. It didn't matter. Like I said, Janie was evil. She was evil, and it had to go her way. And yeah, it's funny. I look back now, but she was on O2-7 now, where she's at. I heard she got declared. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard she did eventually get declared, or she's off lines now. But whatever. I don't know if that's true, so I'll just clarify that. But that's I had heard that she got declared. So, but yeah, she was on OT-7, and I remember just struggling. Like she was not having a good time. I mean, it was not pleasant. It was not. I could see her, headaches, miserable, and she was She was just nasty to other people. And she asked me, "Can you help me get?" I was supposed to go in early to help her set up for her morning. She had to be in session every day, and I was supposed to help her, and there was just a lot of unpleasantries, and I've heard that about being on OT-7 is just a nasty, nasty long haul. Well, she had been on it for at the time, I'm thinking 7 years comes to mind, but it's been a long, long time. But yeah, just watching her being miserable and just thinking, well, I guess that's just what you got to do. But it didn't seem like much fun. So why I stayed that long. So anyways, I ended up going home, got up, so anyways, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm exhausted already. We hop in the car. We had an 8-hour drive back to Michigan, and made about halfway. I'm like, okay, I just can't drive anymore. It's just too dangerous. I have kids in the car, and we got a motel. Went home.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Zoom just gave me we have like a 9-minute limit before we get cut off. So after this happens and we get cut off, I'll set up another meeting and send you the email for it.
Oh, sure.
So
no problem.
But anyway, sorry about that. Continue.
Yeah. So no problem. Yeah, you can just tell me when we get cut off. And stopped, rest, went home, and then the phone rings. It's Jeannie. We're not the enemy. We're your friends. I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking, yeah, bullshit. My friends never. I don't have any friends that talk to me like you do. I don't have anybody that. And if you were my friend and you talked to me your way, you wouldn't be my friend much longer. And so I didn't say that. But they got me back down there to do my routing off, and before they could do this sec check and security check for me leaving, they do a bunch of other actions. Finish grade 0, grade, and a thing called out in. I've never heard of that, but somehow it's an exteriorization bullshit thing about where.
Wait, what was it called again?
Out. It's called out int. Out int. Yeah. It's,
out interiorization.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's where you're supposedly your Satan leaves your body and then tries to re-enter and has a problem in there, and whatever that. It's such ridiculous. I can't believe it. Now I'm talking about it. It's like, oh my goodness, what did I do? Believe in this, but anyways, that was something else. Did my sec check, and then actually the sec check was kind of fun actually, because I got one of my trainees. His name was Sajid. He was one of those staff members that you get, and they get him a visa and a work visa so he can come here. And he became an auditor. I trained him. He just wasn't that good at it anyways. And I always could run good control on him. He was kind of scared of me. And so we sat across from me, and he's asking me questions, it's always, what didn't Jeannie find out about you? And I was so pissed at her. It's just like she had to miss or nearly find out about something I had done. And finally in the session, I said, look, this is not happening. I mean, she's just a nasty bitch. And I don't care what you think and withholds or holders I have against her. You can ask all you want, but I'm done. I'm done answering questions. And I would repeat what I said, but people really want to hear it was just nasty. And you could see him just kind of slink back in his chair. I'm like, yeah, this is done. You can ask whatever questions. But I was then running the session, which is a totally not the way it's supposed to go. But it was just, anyway, sorry. It's like, it was, and I told him, like, she's nasty. And, it was a lot worse. But I let him have it. I'm like, I hate her. I hate her with every ounce of my being. I hate this woman. And then he tries the whole, what did she miss? What did she, we're not finding. I said, no. She's just evil. She's a mean person, and that's the end of it. And that's when I think they realized, like, I'm not going to be salvaged. And my sec check ended really quickly after that. They just didn't have any more questions for me. I'm like, well, good enough. Then
bye.
Let's finish the routing form. And they had Ruslan, the Russian, was my guard watching me. I was on watch. They called it. Like, yeah, just give me a break.
Makes it sound like you're in prison.
Well, you are. You really, truly. I mean, it really is a prison kind of belief system, and it's kind of. I think there's a, the prison of belief. I think
Yep.
it's what is that? So there's a show and somebody
Scientology and the Prison of Belief.
Yeah. Is that? It's a show or what is that? Anyways,
it's a book that was made into a movie.
Right, and that really sums it up, because once you're in, they do about anything. I mean, I remember going to recover people. I mean, I show up like at their door, and we would just, let's just talk. And, the whole, that was just what we did.
Was it you trying to recover staff or public?
Public, staff, anybody who was offline. Like, I would go, I was the guy, not the guy, but I mean, there would be a couple of us that would go try and recover these people.
Try and use your tone 40.
What's that? Yeah,
try and use your tone 40.
Yeah, I decided they were coming back before it happened. So, anyways, that was, I know. It's just like they'll come and get you. They don't really care who you're with or where you're at. They'll come to get you, to recover you, and bring an auditor, give you a session, pull your withholds, and just so you get that high, and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I remember being all about. And but no, I mean, one of the reasons is just, if anybody sees us and I can stop one person, if I can stop one person from stepping in that door and getting in the prison, that's the whole reason I did this. Only because nobody did this for me. Nobody said, hey dude, that doesn't make sense, and this and that, or showed me people that have been out, and it's just, that's my whole hope with this whole thing, is like somebody says, oh man, that doesn't sound like anything I want to do, and it really isn't. I want to work for $50 a week, and I mean, really, it's really sad, the pay. I remember help wanted signs, and I thought, what a joke, because people would come in and want a job. And it's like, and they actually thought they were going to make money. And I remember, like, the first pay of one guy, he was a real nice guy, but he didn't know nothing about Scientology. He, his first pay, it's like, what's this? What's pay? What am I supposed to do with this? It was like, $47. But anyways, I know this is rambling. If I got plenty of stories, like people get taken advantage of. I mean, that's like regging people for money. There was one $36,000 reg cycle that I was in on, and the guy was like 85 years old.
What the hell did he buy?
A bunch of auditing.
Just a bunch of intensives?
Yeah, he bought a bunch of auditing. He was a father of one of the people that were in there, and he was sort of like on the, what day to do. Had a couple sessions and was talking to the reg, and then they got me involved in it, and I'm like, oh yeah, because if we did $36,000, that's another $50 for every staff member, 75 or whatever it was, so we'd have money to live on. So you just thought with like, this is my survival, is get this guy's money. You're not allowed to be reasonable, because if you're reasonable as a reg, you're suppressing.
Reasonable is a bad word.
Yep, and you're being reasonable because, but we took $36,000, wrote a check for it. So he had the money, but it wasn't, the guy came in and we just couldn't help him. The stuff didn't work, and so now that those things are later on and you see that, it's really sad, the things that I did while I was in there. I mean, it's just, taking people's money and not helping them. And there was people that were upset because they would get sessions and wouldn't work for them. We wouldn't get results, and they would stop coming, and you'd go talk to them and they're like, look, you guys just not working. It doesn't work. Why would I want to come back?
All right. So what were we last at? The 36,000.
Oh yeah. The poor guy that we bred for 36 grand. I think his son was really nice. But and he was a public there, and his dad, we wanted to get his dad involved, and we gladly took his money. But it was always a constant struggle, money. And I always wondered where the money went, because I'm like, man, we're like, we'd have 30, 40, 50, 60 grand a week would come into our work, and sometimes it'd be zero, but more often than not, we had a reg who was, David's son, if I was Teeny's husband, and he was really kind of a no bullshit kind of guy, and he would go. He didn't care. He was not reasonable at all. He would just, didn't matter if you were gonna sit in his office. He was gonna take the money, and that was just, it was crazy. And that was, one of my problems when I was in was like, what, if this is really fixing all these little problems, why aren't we doing it for free? I mean, all of us are working because we want to work. Why don't we just give this stuff away? And their whole reasoning behind that was, well, if anything's for free, it doesn't have value. That's why we couldn't give books away.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it is bullshit, isn't it? Because there's some free stuff. And yeah, I see there's a small point of it. But, if you got a Ferrari for free, it still has some damn value. I don't care what, you still have a Ferrari. And it's like, and you're going to take care of it. But
one of the minor things that kind of pisses me off about Scientology, it's like, if you want to pay for auditing, that's fine, but you should never have to pay for FESing. If they screwed up your auditing, goodness, you should not have to pay for that. That should be them fixing that shit for you on their own dime.
There was never that. And that brings up a good point. Another story is, I can remember Wednesdays when we had to get our stats up. We would take, and it'd be like, okay, I made a list of, she would call the senior CS in, and she'd be like, okay, I want a list of folders we can FES that have paid hours, because you could charge those as billable, and those went on to your well done auditing hours.
Yep.
And that was an important statistic. And gosh, I can remember that. Just people taking their money for folder error summaries, and they would get 10, 12 folders, and then they'd start going through them, and next thing you know, you have 4 or 5 hours into it. And if you really have any idea what this stuff costs, but I mean, is it $8,000 or $10,000 for 12 and a half hours? So I mean, we're talking just basic stuff. And it's a good point that you brought that up, because I saw that done and I was like, well, that doesn't quite seem right. Why are we error summarizing someone's work and they don't know, but they didn't ask for it to be done. I don't think they would have wanted it done,
Yeah.
but then they would come back and you'd have some errors in your folder, and you'd have to correct this or correct that. And it just was about making money, and really, that's what Scientology is a money making machine, and it is a machine that makes money.
It's not a well-oiled machine.
No, I mean it. You know what? But it is, in a way. It's really for the product, which is really nothing. The product is brainwashing. But that's the thing. It's right. It's not well oiled, but it's well laid out, well thought out, and it works. And once people get into it, they think that the answers lie there, and that you just have to memorize what L. Ron says, and it takes some healing to get over that stuff. I mean, I've been out for about 10 years now. I got mine declared in 10 or 11, I think. So I've been out for 10 years, and I was kind of upset when I got it. And I was like, oh, geez, I did. I'm a suppressive person, and and so I just said, okay, and moved on. You get your dog all right? Or everything all right?
Yeah, I'm just checking something.
Okay, that's fine. So, I've been out for a long time, been through this and that, what to believe. I operated off from, for a lot of years, I was like, oh, I know all this information. It's good. And I can run my life and things will still be good because I know Scientology. I'm trained auditor. I know how to handle life, blah, blah, blah. All the stuff they sold me in when I was in. But honestly, I tried applying this stuff in the real world, and it's not all that is. It doesn't work the same way as it's taught to you. How this is all the answer, and this is what's going on, and it doesn't really work out. So then, probably the last couple years, I went just like, I gotta get over this. I gotta stop saying we're the last hope, and the last transit year that man has ever had, and what we can do with it here and now depends on the survival. Just and operating off from what this is about, and print it in your head. You have to do these drills. That I still know the laws of listing and nulling, which is an auditing technique, and it's still. I was thinking about that, the other day. I still have it, but it's like it gets so imprinted that it becomes part of you, and you operate on that. And so then when you realize that it's all bullshit, then you got to figure out, okay, well, who am I really? And that's another thing. They got the whole think for yourself. Scientology is the last thing than thinking from yourself that's anywhere, to be. I think you do not think for yourself. You think someone else teach you how to think, but you learn how to think their way, then you're a Scientologist. And has nothing to do with think for yourself. Nothing to do with making your life better. It's about you making money so that you can pay them and they can get rich. And it isn't about saving the planet. It isn't about all the crap they taught you. So, yeah, older summaries. It's a criminal, just like the rest of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just a bunch of stuff. So, anyways, that's my thoughts on that. Yet that we've read people right before I left. Not before I left, but my trip to Flag. I went to Flag and Clearwater, and they these two Sea Org members walked in from the Action Bureau. Have you heard of the Action Bureau?
I've heard of it. I'm not quite sure what it is. So if you could explain that, that'd be great.
They, from my memory of what they do, it's like the people that show up that are going to just, like, you're going to do everything they want. And you are gonna just get done what they have to get done. But I think that's where they were from. Is that
Okay.
it seems like it was an action bureau. I forget what they called it. There was two ladies. Well, anyways, it's Christmas Eve. Okay, and like I said, I had two small kids, and sorry. So it's Christmas Eve, and I'm walking out the door, and in they walk, and they said, "Where's everybody?" Christmas Eve, that don't matter. I want you to go get this person, and this person. And I said, okay. My kids are sitting at home waiting to open presents. Sorry. And
It's okay.
so they come in and so I go get Janie and I go get, Jeremy from the OES. And they want to talk about sending somebody to flag, so I just went along with it. We had our meeting till midnight, and and just so. Anyways, they tell me, who are we gonna send? We didn't really have anybody to send. And I'm like, well, how long is it gonna take? I'm gonna be there 3 or 4 weeks, 6 tops, 6 weeks. I said, okay, I can do 6 weeks. That's tops. You got to do this, this, and this. You got to go through phone metering. You got to go through redo your TRs, which is a communication thing.
So you were going to become more technically trained.
I was going to get flag trained because we had put some video equipment in and found people calling false FNs, floating needles, which is the thing that indicates the end of the process. And people have been calling them wrong before they really were, or not calling them when they were there. And so they had already sent me to Los Angeles to restudy the floating needle thing on the meter. And I came back and we had a pretty big problem with it. So they wanted to send me to flag to retrain on all these things. So I said, all right, how long? 6 weeks. Okay. Well, 3 months in, so I go to flag, right? And I get on the program and I'm it's 7 days a week, man. And I get on it and we're going and I'm just like, man, this is taking a while. It took longer than I thought. So it's like I had finished like 2 or 3 courses. I finished my TRs, pro metering, and then redone some other things like my supervisor course, which is like a teacher, but it's called supervisor because you don't really teach anything. But and I had gotten through some classes, and I'm like, I've been here 3 months. So it's like now we're going 12 weeks, right? Twice as long as, and I'm not even done. And they still had like a few more redo courses they wanted me to do. And I'm like, you guys, like, I need to go home. I need to go home. So it's getting to be the summertime, and I've been away from my kids for 3 months. I haven't seen them. Talk to my wife every day on the phone. And I started, getting really depressed. I'm like, man, this is stupid. What am I doing here? And I finally just told them, like, I gotta go. And they're like, and so you get a lot of grief on there. You're blowing my course, and you're doing this and that. And then your ethics cycles, which adds more time. And then this routing form that you have to take with each individual person. And it's just a big, big hassle to get out of there before you're done. But I finally get home and go back on post. And I had done quite a bit of stuff. But yeah, that's just like everything takes longer than it should. And yeah, it was 6 weeks she'll be gone. 4 weeks, she'll probably be done in 4 weeks. 6 weeks at the most. So I can do that, but not 3 months or And then they wanted to make it another 6 months on top of that. Oh yeah, it would have took another 6 months to do all the stuff they wanted to do. And I was like, you guys got to be kidding me. I'm a parent. I have a wife and 2 kids at home, and it just was not. This is not. It's not how it works. I'm not Sea Org. Didn't agree not to have kids or family or anything else. So I get back, and that's when I gave her last chance in my mind. I said one more time, and then it was only about a month or two later after that, I was back in Michigan, and all done. So it's like it was over. And so yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff that they'll put you through. They will run you through anything they can get away with. They will take as much money, whether they're going to do you any good or not. They'll take as much money as you're willing to give them. They will take as much time as you're willing to give them, and just to take. And there really is no benefits to it. I don't see any in like the basic statistic stuff. Maybe communication, understanding communication's been good. I don't think Hubbard came up with that himself anyways. I think he just, he stole it somewhere, I'm sure, but made it his own and called it Scientology. And, but I don't think there's anything that really has been, a couple of things out of 7 years. It's like, no. Not worth it. And all the money I spent, and just, if anybody here is listening, they think about doing it, just keep watching videos. I mean, go to Doug Kramer's website on YouTube, watch what he talks about, because he was in it. Karen Della Carriere,
Tony Ortega.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. I mean, there's so many people that have stepped out before it was safe to step out, and have stepped out and said, that's it, and done it. And I mean, that's bravery, because there's so many people doing it now that I'm like, yeah, whatever. They got better things to do than come after me. But those guys were great there. I just really, well, the guy that when you say his name, the guy that did the Scientology Aftermath with
Mike Rinder?
Mike Rinder. Oh my goodness. That guy's my hero. I mean, he took it, and he, like, of course, on his story, spent time in the hole. Those guys are really, appreciated what they've done. So anyways, yeah, that's pretty much, I mean, there's other things. Maybe ask them specific about certain things that you heard about.
Well, I did want to know what got you your SP declare.
Oh, I don't know, but I'm thankful for it. I mean, I tore it up, threw it away because it didn't matter. I wish I would have saved it and posted it on the wall as like a certificate, because that really was. I was actually. I'm kind of proud of it at this point, even though I don't have a copy of it. It's like, yeah, but probably publicly leaving Scientology or something like that, where I there's a clause in leaving and leaves. That's the name of the policy letter, leaving and leaves. And I'm not sure, when it was, but if a person leaves staff, they're allowed to just declare you. And it's just I'd have to go back and reread it to be more specific, but it's something like that. Like, if you just leave, you get a declare.
Yeah.
And whether you come back and route off and all that stuff, because had I known I was going to get it declared anyways, I would have never went back to their whole, so I could route off properly. That's the only thing I thought was going to save me from a declare, which was important at the time, but now isn't. They're just, and they're just, isn't that many science. I don't think there's that many Scientologists. Just to watch those events.
I think there's only like 25,000 in the world.
In the world, and I'm not sure if that's even, we'll never really know for sure, but because you can't get a good statistic, they're just gonna. But we used to think, we watched Wescoat get up there and do his events, and we'd be so excited, we're really making a difference, and we're doing this, we're doing that.
Is it just me, or is your chair flashing?
What's that?
I'm getting like different colors going on your screen right now.
Yeah, I know, it's weird.
It's flickering. I don't know what's causing it, but
probably too much light.
Seems to be good now.
Oh, all right. There we go. All right. So, but yeah, that's yeah, we see that, and the whole thing with the tax, you got tax-free status from the IRS, and 93 the war was won and all that stuff. And I remember watching that video and being so excited about it. And then now that I've been out, I did a little research. How'd they pull it off? Well, they went around and chased around IRS agents and spied on them for years, and just had all kinds of dirt on them and lawsuits, and they had all these Scientologists, suing the IRS. And basically, that's what Wescoat did. It wasn't the war was won, and they agreed we were a religion. They knew we weren't. They knew it wasn't. Say we, no. They knew it wasn't. And but they had him over there. There's so much blackmail on him that they said, "What's it going to take for this to all stop?" And I think that's Mike Rinder's story. Anyways, one of them. But I could be wrong. But somebody had said to them, "What's it going to take for this to end?" And they said, just make this tax-free status. And the day that happened, they all ended. They all got, it was over. And that's just, they're just bullies. And but I think part of their power is going away, and a lot of people are talking out. You got the internet, you got people talking who are former staff members. Go ahead. And that's kind of the, you see that, and it's like, all these people are going to come forward just because I want to bash them. I'm not here to bash them. I just want people to realize this. It's not what they say it is. It's not. It's just. It's a bad thing. It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was gonna say, how high did you get on the processing side?
I finished. I think I finished grade 0.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of sick checking, but grade 0, and which is communications, they call it. I think that's communication, because 1 is problems, and
so you were supposed to be able to talk to anyone about any subject.
Any subject, yep, and have other people communicate to others on other subjects, and all 4 flows. Others to others, you to others, others to you.
Yet when someone comes up and tells them something they don't want to hear, they run away like a bunch of little bitches.
Right.
So much for that.
Yeah. But, that's another built-in protection they have is, you're not allowed to be on the internet. You're not supposed to be on the internet watching about information because that's not from source.
Mm-hmm. Black PR.
Black PR. Yeah. That's a good one. That's just black PR, and you don't really know what we do here, and that's we do. I mean, I do. I mean, I lived it.
They're all apostates, and
yeah. They just are against any betterment of humankind in any way. It's like,
I have one of the things I got was the PTSSP course packet, and I was looking through it a little while ago. And I was reading like their definition of like antisocial and all that stuff. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
The 12 characteristics.
So. And
then that was one way, and you could see if because you were always watching for people to say, everybody knows they were saying or not being specific, and then you would be like, oh, that's characteristic, so you'd get that, spending a lot of time in lower conditions, you end up knowing that ethics book really well. So yeah, that's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just nuts. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
what was your best week, best statistics?
My best statistics, I the thing I probably was the proudest of at the time was getting people through the technical training for internship to be actual auditors. That was they had a program come down from management that's about project to complete auditors, and what happened is you'd get through training, then the auditor would go into the internship where you were, that's where you would do a session and then get corrected, and you were just an intern. And the problem is they'd get stuck there; they never complete. So, yeah, yeah, you'd have people just stuck in the internship forever. They'd never be the certified auditors graduated.
So why would they be stuck?
Well, I'm going off memory here, but there is a 9 hours in the chair one day. You spend 9 hours, 8 or 9 hours actually auditing a person in one day. You have to do that. You have to be able to audit for 8 hours. Say 8 hours just because it's safe. But
Yeah.
part it's you have to be able to sit in a chair and still going. It said unstable. Okay, you had to sit in a chair for 8 hours and then audit somebody for 8 hours. And the day that I completed mine, it was 10 hours and 32 minutes. Oh,
Yep.
did we lose it?
Yeah, you were kind of freezing up, so I just figured I'd stop the video for a second and just click it back on and see if that fixed the issue.
Yeah, I was wondering. I saw that unstable, and then okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, I don't know where I lost it, but yeah, you have to audit a person 8 hours or do 8 hours of auditing in one day.
Yep.
And so the day I passed mine, I did 10 hours and 32 minutes in one day.
Wow.
I know, that's a lot.
That must have been torture.
It wasn't bad, actually. The lady was really into it, and she was super, super awesome. And she just wanted as much as she could get. I mean, she was a trooper, man. We kept her fed, and she was well rested, and everything worked just like it was supposed to. And I think she got out. We went to the examiner at like almost 10 o'clock. It was like really close to like cutoff time because you're not supposed to audit after 10 o'clock. So, but yeah, it's yeah. So you got to get through that. That's tough. That's a tough gig, man. It's 8 hours of getting 8 hours auditing lined up is a big deal. But having someone be able to be in session for 8 hours, or even a multitude of people, so that you can get 8 hours auditing it, that's tough to do.
I was gonna say, if regular staff auditors could barely get public in the door, I can only imagine how much hell that is for interns.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. So you don't want to be given a paying person somebody who's going to screw up. You want them to be, that you want them to be well known. But yeah, that's just one sticking point, and that's the one I remember. But there's like probably 15 points that you have to do as an auditor to get through your internship, and it's not easy. So we had a bunch of people stuck, a bunch of people that finished their training. They were interns, they weren't getting done. And it's the guy Brian running them. He's a super nice guy. He passed away while he was actually on staff in a heart attack. But I know, and he was a nice guy. But yeah, we got in there and just started doing the check sheet, the debug that they had sent me, and how to do this program. And I started finishing them. And I finished 13 auditors in about, I don't know, 8 months or so. We got 13 people through. A few of those people were public, public people doing their auditor course and their internship, and we would finish them and get them through, So, I mean, I guess at the time I was proud of it. Not so much now, because it was just sort of a thing that added to. But yeah, that's pretty much, that was my, I guess, proudest moment was finishing all those people. So, and I could raise my statistics if I wanted to, but it, as a cramming officer, it was easy. You just crams. And a cram is a correction on, it's something you did wrong, then you have to go back and reread it and word clear it.
So the auditor has to reread.
Yeah, it's reread or word clear or false data strip or any of the, tools that you had to use. But it started with, maybe ethics or depending on what it was. I didn't handle the ethics part of it. I mean, I ended up with a cyclist a lot, but yeah, you couldn't go in. So if somebody got a cramming order, they had made a mistake the previous night, turned the folder in, the CS looked at it overnight, and we get in the morning and find out they had a cram to do and public waiting, you had to.
Yeah, that's got to be inconvenient.
It is. And yeah, it's just.
Now, when you were at some of your lower statistic days or weeks,
Yes.
when you guys were like did you ever guys get really desperate to try to get auditors? Like you knew you had a quota to meet and you just couldn't meet it?
Oh yeah. Well, that's
so what's that like? What do you try to do to get people in when they don't come in?
Well, I'll tell you the thing that blew up at the very last blow up was what was it? Course completions. I'm not sure what it was called exactly, but it was the academy, which was not Division 6, the intro, but a real academy completion had been 0 for a couple weeks. We hadn't finished anybody in the academy. So we were basically by Jeannie told that stats were not going to stay this way. And so that pressure to raise your statistics, it's just unbearable. And it wasn't my problem, but I was handed it. The problem was like, she's like, you're going to handle this. You're going to make sure that they get this completion. Okay. So our solution was, for an unconventional solution, but we did get a completion, is we had an outer org trainee who was from another organization. It's the missions. They were missions staff member. So they'd send us to us so we could train them. And then she was on another course. No way she was going to finish. But anyway, she was had some auditor training, I think. So one of the courses we could complete them on was the marriage counseling course. It was a really short course if you're an auditor, very short. And so we all pulled the org exec secretary and the store course supervisor and me, we pooled our money together, paid full price for the course out of our pocket, signed her up on it, and got a completion that night before Thursday. And got 2. So, and then, so we got at least 1. And I went into the meeting like, oh, thank goodness, we got 1 completion. Even if I had to pay for it, we stayed late. The 3 of us teamed up to get her done. And, but that's what blew up at the very end. And she was like, that's so out-tack. You're suppressive and what would LRH say about that? I'm like, what would he say about you pushing the statistics so hard? I mean, do we want quality or statistics? Well, I didn't say nothing. I just, oh, well, this is it. Here it is. There's the bitch out there, the last one. I didn't deserve this. But yeah.
I'm sure when LRH was running it back whenever, I'm sure he cared more about quality necessarily than statistics. Well, because he was the one running it.
Yeah.
So there was like a stricter, I don't know. I was thinking like a stricter conformity to his policies. Whereas now David Miscavige, with all his re-releases, just throwing crap out the window all the time.
I know
And I heard they're just doing another Golden Age of Admin.
I heard about that too. Yeah, that'll be beautiful.
Yeah, I can't. I would love to be able to get my hands on those volumes, but it's going to be a while.
Yeah, they're going to be like the Golden Age Attack was just a bunch of binders that you had to spit back the answers correctly as you went through it, and then there was some other drills and stuff that I'm sure are going to be a part of it, but yeah, those don't ever leave the oral at all. They're just, but what was it? Oh, the statistics part of it. I was going to say something about that, but
Trying to get auditors in your low statistic times.
oh yeah, low statistics, yeah, and getting them up, and yeah, it was just always that way. And and the one was gross income, GI, they call it gross income, and that was down. That meant you didn't get paid. I mean, you got zero. That was your pay, but there was no pay this week. We heard that quite a bit, and it was so crazy, working 70, 80, 90 hours a week, and then you get zero.
Yeah.
You couldn't, just, it's a crazy life on staff. It's very crazy. And, how many times I heard we're not going home until this is done.
Jesus.
And I mean, that's exactly what it meant. It's like, it could be 6 in the morning and you're going home and take a shower and come right back.
Oh, God, I can only imagine how sleep deprived you guys were sometimes.
It was rough, and I like my sleep. I mean, I'm sure people do, but I need it. And when I didn't get sleep, it was just like, it was rough.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's like that for anybody. But just, gosh, just don't get into it. I mean, it's an interesting subject to talk about, I guess. But there's a whole nother world. There's a whole nother part. There's the public part where the public sees this is what Scientology is, and then there's the reality of it. And the reality is, you better have a lot of money,
and
be willing to go into huge debt,
yep.
or go into huge debt, and you better be willing to do anything required of this that they ask you. Oh, and here's another thing.
I'm going to let you know we only have like a minute 40 before this cuts off.
All right, this is important.
So, all right.
Anybody who thinks that Scientology and Christianity goes together?
No.
They do not.
No.
Absolutely do not. And yeah, they don't go together. So
it seems like Scientology and any religion don't go together.
Not really, even though they say they're multi-denominational,
Yeah, maybe up to clear.
Yeah, no, it just, once you get into it, they're the only thing that exists. Your family, your kids, none of it really have any value to them.
Yeah.
So, but anyways.
I think now is actually a good time to end off, but I would absolutely love to do a part 2 with you.
Anytime.
That's awesome.
Think of some questions, because I'll answer anything you need to know.
I'll get some together.
Okay, great.
So,
thanks, Holly.
All right. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. Like if you like the video, dislike if you don't. I don't really care. Comment with your feedback or questions, good, bad, or sideways, and subscribe to be kept up to date on future content. I want to thank Mr. Chad Wescoat for speaking to me today, even with all the little setbacks we had. But still, thank you very much for being on the ScientoloGeek.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.